Welcome back to Kin in Line. This is part 29, and it rhymes. So my drawings at this point are in some disarray. I've just got a combination of drawings, all shapes and sizes, but I think they're from roughly while I was in the army in 1980 and 81. So here's an interesting combination of drawing from life, top right. It's actually an interesting composition because it's, as you'll see, I'll sort of try and show you the different corners. So that chap top right, I drew from life clearly. I mean, it's a life drawing. It's all my newly learned shading techniques. Then you got this weird creature. Another sort of from the imagination, a couple more. And there's this sort of weird staircase to where, it gives it a nice sense of depth. And then on the left here, okay, really contorted faces and a figure like a monument up there. And then this fellow with a metal steel helmet, this could be a World War II soldier or something. So I really quite enjoy this composition, which just emerged, no doubt, from the subconscious. Yeah. Okay, so here are a couple of sketches done in the media center where I was based for about 18 months, I suppose, in Kimberley. Here's somebody hard at it, probably actually doing some work. We used to have to kind of make work for ourselves so that if any officer popped in, we would immediately pretend to be busy. So these pencil drawings, this one works quite well. It doesn't really come out so well on the cell phone camera, but yeah. And then, as I've said before, the call of the surf was always there. Not that I was a surfer, but I loved the sea, and my brother surfed, and I sort of body surfed along with him. So here I've got a kind of semi-abstract surfer. Look at his face. Those could easily be the sand dunes at Bonza Bay, this thing peeking away there. Yeah. Now, I don't know why I selected this little chap to frame and mount or whatever. Likewise, this one. I suppose this has quite a lot going for it. It's just, I love the face. So I told you about a green note sketch pad that I sort of made for myself, just from A4 paper that I found somewhere. And this is the remnants of one that I would have dismembered to display each drawing individually. But anyway, here's something from the imagination that emerged in that drawing book. And let's see what else there is here. Yeah, two more colleagues. I think we saw this guy earlier with a snooker cue. He was a sergeant, I think. Tall guy, just a little picture him. And this is quite a nice sort of pose. One thing about the beret, it does give you a sort of interesting sort of way of finishing off a head so that it looks finished. You know, often one just ignores the hair and so forth, but here you've got a nice cap, way of capping a face. And here's a contemplative soul. Shouldn't have cut my nails. Okay, looks as though I ran out of things in here. Yeah, nothing there until the back with another sort of semi-abstract face. And a quick sketch of a guy, army sleeves rolled up. Sorry, a bit cumbersome there. Okay, so then I mentioned earlier that we did these classes. I was in, you can see my army number, 724-98983BG at your service. So I was called up initially or registered by this Defence Force in 1972 at the age of, I would have turned 16 that year. So from 1972, they had me on their books. They finally nabbed me in 1979, July. So I was still at school in 72. I only finished in 74. 4 years at art school, and finally they nailed me. Civic action, current affairs, Republic of South Africa. I was a rifleman. Apparently that is a rank. They can't just call you Bentley. They have to say Skutter Bentley or Rifleman Bentley. And anyway, there weren't enough of these A4 notepads around, so we had to tear them in half and share them. It was classic army, and so I've decorated the cover nicely with a very disciplined military image. Not, there's an upside down tree, for instance. So there was actually a lot of, the lectures were all in Afrikaans, and my Afrikaans wasn't good, but I picked it up rapidly, and I knew all the terminology in English. I knew what they were talking about. So this is military war, political war, economic war, psychological war, cultural war, semantic war, diplomatic war. I mean, all this stuff actually does apply today. I think we're stuck in a war, and it's this COVID thing. I won't go into that now, but, all this, the experts have been mulling over this forever. So South Africa definitely was trapped in a sort of, there was an insurgency. In fact, there's just the word right there, insurgency. To destroy the people in government. So this makes for interesting reading. I'm not going to dwell on it now, but this is the kind of, it was largely propaganda, to justify their national party's hold on power, sort of racial government. But I'm afraid it's been proven to actually be, I didn't even know about the People's War that occurred, that the ANC would orchestrate in the late 80s. And they got all their tactics from the Vietnamese after they defeated the Americans in the early 70s. So all this stuff is actually relevant. I'm just trying to see if there are any drawings in amongst all this. I hadn't realized I'd been such a good student. Yeah. Vierkunde, animal science. There was my one little attempt at a little sketch. But yeah, this was propaganda interspersed, I think, with some realism. Realistically, there was stuff going on. One couldn't deny it. The Cubans were there. I mean, the Cubans weren't the greatest of democracies. The Soviet Union was supporting the other side, so they weren't democratic. So we were stuck in the middle of this thing, as just young people growing up in a country. We had nothing to do with what actually led to this. We were just kind of cannon fodder. Fortunately, I didn't have to play actual soldiers. Okay, so finally I'll get some drawings. And this is quite an interesting one. So those were from life. And again, like that first drawing, I integrated them into a sort of abstractive thing. I remember this chap pretty well, and this guy. And there's a little quote, "In my mind and in my car." That was one of the new wave bands. Can't remember their names now. Don't think there's another sketch there. And out in the bundus, as we say, in the sticks. So that was one military outing we would have done. Those are probably soldiers marching along there. Here we got a crouched chap. Who would he have been, I wonder? More sketches from life that we've seen. This guy just on a few pages back, same profile. And here's Sarel Seemonster. Now, there was a character on TV called that, and I think everybody called this guy. His name was probably Sarel, and he became Seemonster. Yeah, so I probably only kept this little notepad because I did a few sketches on it. So I wouldn't have had all that record of, of the actual stuff they were teaching us, trying to teach us. It's quite a nice drawing of this chap here. I can just focus it nicely. Yeah, so that was our civic action, military intelligence introduction. I'll have to leave it for now. Cheers, thanks.